introduce you to a concept that I just ran across from a company called Adizes, and I invite you to go to adizes.com, ADIZES. This is a company that's been studying growth stages or life stages in corporations for many, many years. Good consulting company. And what they've done is they have outlined a growth phase that starts at courtship when you're just thinking about the idea, into infancy where you're really ramping up. The go-go period is probably the period that many of you are on the phone are in today. This whole concept of growing from infancy to the go-go period. Typically in the natural product space, I've seen this anywhere from 1 million in sales to 15, 20, sometimes 25 million in sales. There's a period here where there's rapid growth, and you can see you're really growing at a significant pace. Now, this little squiggly line here between go-go and adolescence is all about the pain that you feel when you get to the point where you grow into adolescence and you start to grow into the prime periods of a company's life. We call this the wall. A lot of times we call it the $20 million wall. A lot of times companies see it at 20 million, 15 million, 20, 25, 30 million, and even as high as 50 million. And you start beating your head up against this wall as an entrepreneur and growing into adolescence and prime. And then there's ways, all these little red marks are how a company might fail. So in this period between go-go and adolescence, a lot of time you get an unfulfilled entrepreneur or premature aging, you kind of outgrow yourself. So you could study all that, but this period right here in the middle is what I really wanted to key in here, and we call this the wall. So just to give you a sense of what the top 10 indicators that you might be at that wall are, and see if this resonates with any of you. Supply chain limitations. I could tell you at Garden of Life, when we went through that wall, we had suppliers that were just too small to keep up with us, and they created such specialized ingredients that it was very, very difficult to replace them or to bring them along with us, and that was a big, big limitation hindering our growth. Number two, increased customer expectations. The higher you go on this scale and the faster you grow, you start doing business with bigger and bigger customers. Ellen used the whole concept of Kraft or a Quaker or a Kashi even. If you're doing business with some large manufacturers, then their expectations are through the roof because they're typically doing business with bigger companies. So you start to feel that pressure as a small company growing through this adolescent stage. A lot of times your technology has difficult time keeping up with your growth phase. So QuickBooks only scales to a certain level, and then the functionality behind a QuickBooks or a Mass 90 type of technology just kind of falls apart. You start to recognize that you need more technology around CRM or customer relationship management, really understanding who your customer is and tracking where they're at in their sales cycle. That you start to feel this pressure that you have a sense that new technology might be able to help you scale through. Another big key in this little fuzzy place that we call the wall on this scale is the old ways just aren't working anymore. And I'll just say up front, I have utmost respect for entrepreneurs. I think that they're typically brilliant and have a great memory. And one of the real powerful things about an entrepreneur as you grow through this infancy and go-go stage is that the entrepreneur tends to make a lot of the decisions. And you reach a stage where that becomes less and less easily done. You start to feel the real need to delegate, and then you start delegating to folks who maybe can't keep up, and you start to feel a real frustration, and you feel like, wow, all the things that I did that got me here just aren't working anymore, and that's a real sign that you're reaching this wall stage. Another big sign or indicator is you've got stress across your organization. If you're starting to feel stress and problems, and it's just not as fun as it used to be, and there's a lot of conflict in meetings, and you've got associates who are just unpleasant or not feeling good about where the organization's going, that's another indicator that you might be reaching this wall. The sixth one on here is increased employee expectations. And what I mean by that is when you reach a certain scale, employees start expecting a higher level of benefit. They start expecting a certain level of pay, commiserate with the pay scale that they might get at another company, even a bigger company. And you start to feel this pressure from the employees. I'd like to have performance reviews, please. When you're in this go-go phase of growth, performance reviews aren't all that important. As soon as you start hitting the wall and you start getting bigger and there's more leadership and there's more layers of management, performance reviews, associate handbooks, all these things take on increased importance, and you start to feel that from your employees. They expect more from the company. Number 7 is a time for new skills, and that's what I alluded to earlier. The entrepreneur starts to feel like you need to hire people that have got increased skills. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to find new people, but at Garden of Life, for example, and at New Organics, where I was CEO, we brought in a VP layer of people that had significantly a significant deeper level of skill set than the people that were there on the ground. People that have run large organizations before, have built organizations, have built standard operating procedures, etc. And you feel like there's a need for those new skills to come in and really help you scale. That's an indicator that you might be hitting that wall. Number 8 is a need for capital. A lot of times people that hit the $10, $15 million mark, $20 million mark feel like they need to go out and raise $5 million to be able to scale that wall. The italicized portion here is very, very important. When you reach out for the first time as an entrepreneur, for example, to get new capital, it comes with a lot of baggage. And a lot of the baggage relates back to indicators 1 through 7 here. It's time to fix those problems when you bring on new capital. And the expectation from that new capital source, even if it's a bank, even if it's private equity or venture capital or Uncle Joe, the expectation that's going to come with that capital is that you're well on your way to fixing these problems 1 through 7. Number 9, we also typically see ownership conflict. When you're in the go-go phase and you're growing straight up, cash covers a lot of sins. And when you start to hit this wall and you start to feel the pain that comes from this wall, a lot of times if you've got partners at the highest levels of ownership, you start to feel some conflict. I'd really like to grow through the wall. Someone else might say, I kind of like where we're at now. I don't want to spend a lot of money. I'd rather just keep making some profit. So handling that conflict that arises at this wall is also very, very important. And last but not least, I said jokingly here, plan, what plan? You start getting a lot of questions about your plan. And in the go-go phase, plan's not all that important because you've got customers who are buying your product and you're just flying and you're growing and all is well. When you start to hit that wall, though, the expectation level from customers demands that you prioritize. And the best way to prioritize your objectives is with a great plan. If you bring on capital, they're going to want to see your plan. If you bring on a bank, especially in today's economic environment, they're going to want to see your plan. So figuring out an easy way to do that plan is also a key to what we're talking about here today. So